Hey, how's it going? We are continuing a series where we're taking a look at different governments up there. If anything, I personally believe most of those governments gonna be taking a look at investments and allocation of its budget, right? So if we are talking about 100%, perhaps 10% gonna be allocated to military and military spending. Once that might be done within some of those governments, if anything, I like to recommend for some of those governments and citizens living within those governments to allocate perhaps at least 2% in research and development. It's something that I'm looking to make a case. In particular, Sweden, I haven't done enough research to understand. Overall, Sweden has its own military recently. They had reduced its military, right? For many years, it was very small. Since that might be a waste of money, and if anything, I can't emphasize enough about some of the financial decisions that is being made. I noticed that when it comes to Europe and some of those countries within Europe and how they're allocating its money. And I'm noticing that. I don't know if there's a lot of noise, which I not necessarily personally believe is important, but what countries are doing and how they're operating, and if anything, of those strategic decisions that are being made within the governments, I noticed that. All the people shouting on the streets for whatever reason, trying to bring more attention to whatever they're doing. If anything, let's delve a little bit deeper about allocation of capital when it comes to research and development. And the fourth country at the top when it comes to research and development, and we take a look at Sweden. When it comes to allocation of capital, some of those countries up there has access to a lot of capital, and the way how those governments setting up funds when it comes to investing into different businesses and allocating capital, right? They know that. If anything, I like to bring more attention and how those governments are operating, right? Let's take a look at Sweden. There's some articles or published work when it comes to politics and the way or directions that targets when it comes to politics. It's not something that myself I'm interested perhaps in the future because I'm gonna have to. It's not that I want to. If anything, let's try to understand strategy and decision making when allocating capital in research and development in Sweden. And some of those targets, it's overall kind of fun way how they need to explain some of the people that need to sit down and take very complex thing and explain to so everyone will understand. Sometimes they use like colors, shapes. I have done it. I have been there myself when it comes to explaining some of those concepts, right? When it comes to sustainability and growth and countries' overall targets, right? Country would be taking a look at technological absorption as well as environmentally efficient processes as well as production efficiency, as well as it makes overall a country when it comes to security. I'm not entirely sure what's happening, but I think it will be joining some of the defense collaborating opportunities, defense nations, all that things, right? In particular because of its spending, right? It had at one point reduced its military spending, right? So they most likely have done a lot of work and paid a lot of attention at research and development, to say the least. So they have perhaps very good systems when it comes to research and development, right? Functional infrastructure, legal systems, water, electricity, and ICT, as well as housing and offices, as well as global accessibility, meeting places, clusters, and or test environments, efficient transportation, goods and people, social functions, healthcare, schools, and healthcare. So I definitely knew that they have very good infrastructure when it comes to allocation of capital. There's perhaps there's 5 or 10 people who so some I don't know if some governments even have those 10 people who would sit down and think about the best use or stretch of the money allocated to some of those resources. And once they need to put things together and define key areas and how they would be allocating money and making best wise decisions, what they can do with that money. Let's delve a little bit deeper and trying to understand the strategies on how they're looking to allocate those capital funds. Perhaps I can share this way how we're looking to do that with others without going too much into detail, right? So I'm going to do that for previous video clip as well for this one and how we're looking to allocate this capital. So this is kind of interesting. All people or business leaders should have some kind of structure when it comes to that. Not necessarily share that with others, but at least they should have it. There's a number of companies, and perhaps there's 20 different companies as well as location within the EU. And I can see there's one of them within the UK. I know it's one very well since I'm looking to collaborate with them. That would be Southwest UK. So where my company is based, as well as I have a chart number of those organizations as well. Uh, the, I'm not entirely sure if they actually perform very well, but they are at the top charts, right? I'm not entirely sure about the top charts, perhaps at expenditure, since I know that Southwest has a very good infrastructure when it comes to, from my personal experience, about having structure, but when it comes to actually output, how well they are actually outputting. So because I can make an argument there, perhaps the Southwest has very good infrastructure, how they businesses within the region generating a lot of capital, and that capital would be allocated based with the tax money to invest into infrastructure. But perhaps some of those within Southwest we can only talk right. Perhaps they with taxes they can allocate those taxes and develop those infrastructures. But currently, myself, it's been some time, perhaps over. We're talking about months and months, right? It's very hard to collaborate with them. They're still building those infrastructures, right? As well as currently, they might be collaborating with just a number of companies. Sometimes it can take only one company that could build all that infrastructure, right? But not necessarily they or understand how to support new businesses. So perhaps that would be some feedback for people who are interested. I can share this particular graph with others for people who are interested. Perhaps worth reaching out to some of those organizations and see for yourself, if anything, how easy it is to do business with any of them. If they have new hires, it's something that myself I've dealt with. Some of the new hires and they're looking to expand to different markets. Something they would tell me a name of new hire. I already know what this organization is looking to do. Talking about Southwest, right? How are they looking to expand? How are they looking to build some of those infrastructures, right? It's not necessarily limited to Southwest. There's a number of companies with another one bring them into the mix. But either way, so I understand what they're doing, right? But not necessarily those new hires would understand what to do. But it's good that they're doing something. It's a full breakdown of I'm currently looking at Sweden perhaps and Sweden and how they are setting the targets and some of those articles been published, right? I'll share that in the description below for people who are interested, as well as it seems that I don't know, that's one way to do that, right? And they're looking to share that information with others, in particular when it comes to perhaps establishing those networks, right? There's some of those areas that they're looking to highlight. That would be what is included in business R&D expenditure, right? Expenditure for intramural R&D work, salaries of intramural R&D staff, expenditure for purchasing R&D work, expenditure for supporting R&D work, expenditure for intramural R&D investments, buildings, land or real estate or property, machinery and equipment, software and programs. So the definite expenditure is very high, to say the least. Expenditure is very high. Performance, output of the team's administration staff. I don't know. That's my feedback. It is dealing and working with some of those people. Since people are there, to say the least, infrastructure is there. People are there. Administration staff, if they being problematic, not enough training, feedback that could do better, yes. Those people are there could do definitely better. I don't know. People are there, so to say the least. Yourself, if you're interested in learning more, I would highly recommend to purchase my book, Game Strategy. Within this book, I'm sharing a lot of information with the people who are looking to delve into businesses and understand world of businesses. Within this book, or perhaps it's easier to explain or what this book is about. It would be perhaps yourself if you're interested in doing a lot of research to understand businesses and different businesses. Right from there, once you finalize your research, perhaps you should take action on the research that you have done and actually set up and start a business, right? And from there, progress and actually, when you have a lot of resources, how to allocate those resources and how to do or make your decisions wisely, right, when allocating resources and supporting other projects, or perhaps having some share of those projects or investing in different projects. You can find this book and QR code in the corner or company's website below. Just to summarize today's video, myself, I have a lot of experience living and working and doing business with Norway. Not necessarily Sweden, but Sweden within itself, it has very good markets for investment and the way how people operate with the capital. Everyone knows that. I don't know if I need to bring more attention to that. I'm looking to do business with Sweden, perhaps in the near future if possible. I'll try to reach out to some of the centers to see how easy it is or might be to do business. I will leave a complete breakdown about the economy and investments in research and development by Sweden government for people who are interested. If anything, there's a list of centers, right, where they perhaps recommending others to reach out to. So I do know and I have done some research within those centers to understand those. There are infrastructures there, right? But how well people are within those centers when it comes to operate. So you have a business and you need to reach out to some of the points of contact within the different governments, right? Infrastructures are there. Are those people within those centers are capable of taking new people on, operating, understanding? Oh, that's completely different story. If anything, let's encourage more people to do that. So I'll share more information within the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.